Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another episode of Owning Her Health. I am your host, Dr. Lisa Holland, integrative physical therapist, women's health coach, and Ladybiz leadership consultant and coach, working with medpreneurs and healthpreneurs everywhere. And today I pretty much have a woman on who is all of those things, and I've worked with her in all of those ways. Her name is Maria Griemel, and she's coming at us from Germany today, and that is why there's a little bit of sketchiness, a little bit here and there. We tried to clean that up as much as possible, but I do forgive you for the audio. Every once in a while I got a feedback from my microphone, and I'm not sure where that is, but I hope it doesn't take away from her story, because Maria's story is really for those mompreneurs out there, the ones that have maybe devoted a lot of the vocation thus far in being home with their family, changing the world by changing the people that we're putting into it. This Mama Guru gives us some feedback on how it was growing up in 3 different cultures, in 3 different areas of the world at very, very transitional times in her womanhood, going from not only the young girl to the maiden, but then again from the maiden to the mother, and the mother into, as she's getting wiser and older, into her mature mothering, towards those glimpses of the matriarch coming, that wisdom of the matriarch. We talk about the good girl syndrome and the maturity that we need, and also the support, the web of support that's so important, especially at those transitional points in our lives, especially if we're leaning into moving through those different segments. We don't necessarily meet eye to eye with the mothering role we might see in our own house, or even in our circles, our friendship circles, trust circles. Connecting to ourselves is super important so that we're grounded. And when we're moving around and the influences that we have around us, we don't always realize. It doesn't always show sometimes until we're getting these perimenopausal syndromes way too early, until we're adrenal fatigued, until we're in an illness. And Maria's background actually takes us from back pain, and she has an interesting story about back pain in Germany as compared to the United States, and her experiences finding the right network for that support, but also the impact she's having right now out of that once debilitating low back story that at 16 kept her in bed. So you can imagine somebody at 16 who at that time in where she was living was just entering puberty, because in other cultures, in other areas of the world, they don't start their periods at 10, 11 years old. There, because of the food and the environment and some of the other things, they have a much later onset. And so you can imagine the psyche and the differences. So it's a really, really interesting conversation. We get into everything, all the facets of a woman's health, her wealth, her relationships, and her spirituality, and how we're rolling that in. And I love that. Those are my dogs in the background. That's how being a working mom is, and I love it because I actually in the middle of cooking tortellini for my children for dinner and doing this podcast. So it's very much apropos for what we're doing here on Owning Her Health. But in this particular episode, I want you to also take a look over on the show notes at the sponsor. Today's sponsor is going to be GuruGoddessTribe.com. GuruGoddessTribe.com is going to be your place to get these goddess chats, and not just with the goddesses, the female goddesses, but with others. You're going to be expanding in health and wellness, entrepreneur living, lifestyle, really lady boss living, all facets. So I think you just saw that right now with my dogs and me cooking in the kitchen and film and recording this intro for Owning Her Health right now. And I'd love for you to meet up with, if you are in Germany, meet up. Maria invites you. She'll have her contact information in the show notes. So listen up and let us know in the comments below what you think about her story. So happy she shared it to let you know of owning your health right now.
Welcome to this episode of Owning Her Health with your host, Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. Join Lisa as she starts the conversation on what it really takes to become a healthy, wealthy, and whole CEO of your life. Listen in to real talk by real lady leaders in all walks of life as they open up on personal health stories, wealth, career, and feminine abundant living. Learn how to grow by owning your body, expanding your mind, and aligning your soul with the purpose only you can pursue in this world. Happiness begins with owning her health right now.
Hey everyone, Dr. Lisa Holland, PT here for another episode of Owning Her Health. Today I am so excited to welcome someone who I've known now, Maria, probably 5 years? 5 years or so. Maria worked with me here in Charlotte, Maria Griemel, and she's now in Germany. And she ended up doing some work with me personally, and then ended up being one of my yoga educator students from my Belly Guru system, and really integrating a lot of stuff. Pretty much probably has seen me as a clinician and a health coach and in full gamut. So I wanted to have Maria on because her story and her journey is very interesting and very, very much, wisdom. And one of the things I wanted to do on this podcast was make sure that I was showing that the gap between every woman doing whatever their vocation is, stay-at-home mom, lawyer, doctor, we all have a very similar experience at a very, very primal, a very, very energetic level. And when we look at other women, if you heard my podcast number 16 on that, double goddess or whatnot, when we're looking at other women, we need to see ourselves in all the variations. And so I just think that Maria has a great story. So I welcome you, Maria. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you let everybody in the audience sort of a little spiel on who you are and what you're up to now.
Yeah, hi Lisa. Thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome.
Being your guest. And well, I'm 39. I grew up in Central Asia. I used to live in Germany. We spent some years in Charlotte, North Carolina. We worked for a German company there. That was the time when I met Lisa. Now I'm back in Germany, in the beautiful South. It's Bavaria. Everybody is welcome to come and visit me here. And well, my story, I would start with my health because it has such a great impact on me, on my life, on my state being a woman, being a young woman in my 20s. I was 16 when I got my back pain for the first time. I was really paralyzed. I was lying in bed for several days. I went to a doctor then finally, and it was a typical medical way of treating with painkillers and shots and doing MMR. And of course, there was something on my verbs. And when finally 10 years ago, I got a prescription for physiotherapy. So it was 10 years just with painkillers. And I went to physiotherapy. Well, it got better, but I never got rid of it for sure. It came back, and it was just not a complete healing process. And finally, I met a tool. I met the right person, the right physician, yoga therapist, and the coach Lisa, who showed me a different perspective on the pain, the self, on how I can see my body, my pain in connection with myself, with my mind, how I can strengthen my body, my muscles, my bones, and at the same time strengthen myself in my mind, and how this complete structure can help me to live pain-free. And here in Germany, back pain is such a great topic. It's similar to US, I think, and German therapists, they like to prescribe surgery. And now we have a scientific report that 80% of the surgeries in Germany are not needed. So you can get rid of this back pain without a surgery, without a painkiller. This is how my story started with something with like a pain in the low back, and then it was a chance for me to go even deeper. who I am as a woman, what is my profession. I have a degree in English literature and project management. And I was earning money. To be honest, I was earning more money than at the moment, but I have 2 little kids, so it's a full time to be a mom and entrepreneur. And then I finally found something which is my calling. It's to teach yoga and to teach German. I also give German lessons to refugees here in Germany.
Nice.
Yeah, different kind of people from different parts of the world. And for the first time in my life, 2 weeks ago, I started teaching them how to read and write. So they're completely analphabets.
Wow.
Yeah, so every time I'm having not such a good day, I'm thinking about about the impact I can give on the life to the people who will finally start reading at the age of 36 or 40 or 20.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great. So that's awesome. So I hear basically like you're a communicator. I mean, even with the yoga and then the self-discovery work, and your story is really interesting because, you know, you're that, which I often see in my life, of course, with my line of work, but like flipping that pain and having that pain that was maybe, you know, like you said, at 16 years old, like debilitating to you. And now you're seeing this as like a necessary, quote unquote, evil, blessing in disguise to have gotten you to self-inquiry and meeting different people, taking you along different paths. And I think that's so important because sometimes when you're mothering, when you've chosen the vocation of mothering and you're going away from a lucrative career and you're choosing that, you can feel really much like all of these experiences, especially through childbirth and maybe you have postpartum depression, maybe you get some back pain adds up again or something like that. You feel like you're being pulled out of society and almost like you're stagnant. But really, it could be an incubator, much like pregnancy, much like the cocoon for a butterfly, for this other big thing to have the chance to emerge.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like here in Germany, springtime. I think it's the same time in North Carolina right now, and it was like a winter time, being a lot of at home, doing my studies, and to be honest, this self-studies were 500% more enlightening myself compared to my 5 years college, where I just, well, I would still love to read the books, but I never went to the depth of how do I, as a woman, understand in the world. And this is, I think, the most important message I will give to my kids. Learn something which gives you the ability to understand you and the world much better than the gifts everybody has. All of us have special kind of gift. Somebody is good at writing, somebody is good at speaking, and to use that gift to make this world a better place. And in my case, it definitely, in yoga, I have my stay-at-home mommies, I have my young people and old people, I have my men coming at 8 p.m. From a bank or from a huge company. So it's all kinds of people, a huge variety. But each of them is taking something from my class, and I don't see the results so obviously like with my German students who are starting reading now. It's like, there's a letter A and there's a letter B, so it's kind of, there's a huge progress with my yoga students. I definitely see it on their face, how they relax or how they look at you after the class, and yeah, and maybe in future when I can start giving more private lessons and see the development of these special students, maybe I can see the results even more obvious.
Yeah. And I'm getting some pushback here. I think I have too many electronics. Sorry about that. You made an interesting point that I think women really, really need to understand is, especially if you've chosen, motherhood as something that you're actively doing, it's that same type of thing, finding that joy and appreciation, looking for the little things, the little wins, because you don't even know. I think a lot of parents in general, dads and moms, get so upset because they're so worried whatever it is they're doing, their kid, they want to see this outcome, but like you're not going to see the outcome for like 25 years as a parent. I mean, it's almost we're making our kids sick trying to force this acknowledgement, this external validation. But and maybe that's a lack of reflection on ourselves and understanding the journey. Everything's so fast. We want instant everything, I want to know it, and I want to know it big now. I want to, do this thing and have the effects right now. And I want to see my bank account go from like $0 to $1 million now. And, but, there was an old fashioned sort of traditional, before all the technology, before all the fastness, appreciation for like setting those seeds, tilling the soil, then setting the seeds at the right time, then, caring for it, then reaping what you sow. We've lost some of this with all of this, not being in nature and not building our food and, noticing that it takes time for the calf or the chicken. I mean, they go and make the chicken be 100% ready for slaughter from birth in like weeks now with all these steroids and everything. And it really, we don't have that reflection as much. So I love that you're like that, I want to show my kids. And that leads me to the thought process that's really interesting, our patterning in our brain. And as we're developing, and you have a story of really being in a different culture, and that socialization of how important that socialization is in terms of creating it for your child, but also understanding that there's layers there. There's like a blueprint of your culture, of your religion, of your gender, and the best thing we can do is like sort of demonstrate within the family world. And that's why it's so important with families, maybe a different expectation if we're living in a world that's, a way that we don't necessarily want it to imprint on our children. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey that you had? I
grew up in Central Asia and Asia. I mean, some of you maybe have been to Japan, or have an idea of this slow movement, slow way of communicating. It's a culture of understatement as well. So in Western culture, especially in US, you come from Europe. Europe is getting like US because we communicate so much. We're so close now. Everything is loud. It's superlative. Everything is huge. It's XXL size wise. In Asia, it's small. It's a really small world. And if you are good at something, you don't have to be loud, and you don't have to be seen. People know it just by looking at you, and they know it because it's a tribe. It was a tribe culture as well.
Tribe culture, interesting.
And like being in a village where everybody knew about everybody, but they cared also about everybody. And people were sitting outside and chatting to each other, like in real life. And for my kids, I cannot give that example of communicating here in Germany. They need to have a different way of communicating, especially for my daughter, my little one. I definitely will tell her if she has something to say, she needs to say it. She will say it in a polite way, but she needs to be loud enough to be heard. especially having a brother who is loud. And she will definitely need to care for herself, not just for ours. And she also needs to love some people from a distance. It was big development for myself as well. I don't need to like and love everybody and to accept. Yeah, we had this topic on you had this topic on episode 16, light and darkness. There are some dark spots, so take a step away and people. This sentence is also from one of the podcasts. To accept both sides. Yeah, and coming back to now to this Western culture, just to get adapted, to adapt the culture in a way. How do I communicate it to be heard, to be understood, and yeah, to be able to live a happy life.
Nice. And I think that's, again, going back to communication, and it's really hard to communicate only one way, only one-sided. And, I think women in general probably have, I'm hearing in your story a lot of resolution of it's okay to receive. It's okay to receive.
Exactly.
That you can be good receiving, and it's that good girl thing. And that goes back to, the inner tribe of wisdom. When we're young, being good might be, listening and following. And then as we mature, we're starting to figure out what are our truths, what are our beliefs. We have that rebellion time. Where it really is us kind of being molded into who we are. And there's a lot of self-reflection. I mean, that's why the teens want to go off in their room and not talk to anybody. And we need to honor that. Now there's a saying in yoga, like, blessed be the child born of a yogi, because they can look at their child and set up where that's honored, instead of being like, why are you always in your room and what is going on? And making it so much harder. Of course you have to be observant, because now people are getting really stuck, a lot of mental illness and stuck into their electronics, and, studies showing that that's not necessarily mentally healthy. But if you're creating that and environment, understanding that, and then letting people be independent and letting them different. I know that I had one friend who kind of wanted to move away and make a better life for herself and her family, and the mother of the father of her husband just like totally bombarded it, like, be like, you can't do that, you can't take away my grandkids. And now the grandmother doesn't hardly, like, she's not really hanging out all the time. So it's like we have to be making sure we're letting go, and then that letting go, so I think, what you've shared in terms of your own personal, that's what helps us when we go into different cultures. And you moved at 15, right? So, yes. That's a big shift in you going to that maidenhood. And kind of navigating, because even puberty onset, I know that some other friends from Germany, 16 was, pretty much the norm, that they got their periods and things like that. Whereas in America, 11, so you just maybe even not even had your period, getting your period. And so, maybe, here Western listening to this, we might think, oh, well, she's already like almost an adult in navigating that. But no, puberty onset was later for you, likely, than for us, because of, the phytochemicals and the estrogens and all this other stuff influencing, you having a cleaner culture, and that impacts things. Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you see that happening in different countries?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, growing up there, when we moved to Germany, I was always almost naive. Like, seeing everything from a good, very positive perspective. And yes, I can only agree with you. This was exactly where it was, with cleaner eating and becoming a woman and getting my period much later. My cousins, my male relatives, when we came to Germany, and started eating the meat in Germany, they got, wow, their body was transforming in such a terrible way. And
Wow.
everybody is looking at them and saying, this can only come from the food they're eating. Yeah, all this meat with antibiotics and so on. So it was a visible change in a negative way, for sure, definitely for sure.
Yeah.
And when I got married and become my kids, and maybe if somebody is listening who has just one child, the group of people I hang with together here in Germany, all of us saying the same kind of experience. After the first child, all of us tried to get back to job, like getting all our energies and sleepless night, and like, no, I need to go back to work. I need to go back to work. And after the second one, we just know it's just so nice to be a mom. And when we look at the younger moms who are trying so hard to going back to the companies, to the work, we're saying, well, this is a typical mistake every young mom does of the first child. If somebody would have told us, slow down, there's no need to rush, the company can wait, and it's only this, but not only to talk, but to show ways how you can be successful without a company or without a particular job in the office. So, yeah.
That's so important because, like, some people have to get the money. Sometimes I see two different women now, especially in Generation X, kind of born late 60s, through the 70s and very early 80s. And it's like, you went to school, such a thing about go to school, get a degree, lot less appreciation for vocation of motherhood right off the bat, but also a dependency, financial dependency, things getting more expensive, more expectations put upon you. And I see where some people, were just like, that was just career, they weren't going to give it up. And then there's people who are like, no, I'm going to go into, motherhood, but then they were in financial strain. So you bring up a really good point, a wisdom nugget there. Like, we need to find a way, and I'm definitely into that. And that's a lot of what I'm developing with the Goddess Tribe is having this outlet, this division where we're going to figure it out. We can't wait for governments to give us permission. We can't wait for our partners to give us permission. Like, if we need to be a whole woman, if we've pushed this whole woman aspect, and we, going back to decisions and choices that we're making, then we need to find a way for me to feel, quote unquote, successful and define success in ways that I'm attributing my contribution, maybe not necessarily in financial, that maybe having less material things around is still successful in my definition, and also the reflection off of society. And then also, how can we bring, that's why I love Beauty Counter. I love their mission. I became an independent associate there because I want to build a team. I want to build an ability, because it's healthier products. It doesn't have like all of those chemicals we're rubbing on it. We forget the organ. You're talking about internal. It's really, some people forget that, putting it in, they kind of want to ignore that there's a problem there. But even if they're eating so well, this is our biggest organ. But really what drew me was the mission. It's, she's a smart lady. I got Greg Renfro, and she just wants to get better products, but she wants to give a vehicle for women to be at home with their kids and be doing something that, is a stronger mission. It's not, nothing against selling cooking appliances or anything like that. But, when you're talking to somebody, you have degrees, you have, I can't give up the fact I just love studying the human body, and I have ways to share it that other people are not doing. I see things other people aren't seeing. I feel a big contribution to not only be contributing to the next generation through my children, but actually to the present generation through my work and service, some way for us to fill in that financial gap. Because that's tough, and that's in our psyche. We want to bring in money, but it's not so much like we want to have things. Sometimes we just want to know that we have choices, because so many women are left in a situation of domestic violence because they don't have that choice.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And we came to Germany 2 years ago, and I completely forgot about this financial situation, because here in Germany, the government pays you a year to stay at home, and you get 70% of your salary just to stay at home with your child.
70% of your salary to stay with your child for a year in Germany?
Exactly, yeah.
Do you hear that, America? Do you hear what you're not getting and what you're paying for in whoever's healthcare plan? Just letting you know what Germany does.
Yeah, absolutely. But even that case, so most of them moms, they use for 12 months, but there's something going on in the psyche of a young mom, and I was the same way. It's this uncertainty, I was lacking I didn't have a network, to be honest. I moved to a new town. My husband got a new job, so I moved to be together with him. I was completely alone without a network. So a job or a company or an office is, of course, for us a way of finding grown-up people to talk with.
Biopsychosocial beings. And even spiritual, if you'll allow that in. And we need that socialization with other, and not that our children are intellectually behind or anything, but literally they're not as mature.
Absolutely. So I didn't have a financial lack, but I did have a lack of socialization, of exchange, of this is what my mom had, or my grandmother had. They had that network. There was a aunt, there was a cousin, there was somebody, and there was always something to do on the farm. And so there's an exchange, and if you need to take a shower, and then there's somebody who will take care of your baby. And so for me, but when I meet a young mom now, the one advice I always give is just you build your network. You need a network to, if it's not a grandmother or your own mom, there are so many people who are willing to help. You just need to ask. And this is what I realized when we came back to Germany. Here again, all by myself. My husband is working. My parents are far away. My in-laws are far away. But there's another lady, she's 70, but she's like a grandmother for my kids, and she takes care of them. And if I need to work and my husband is not there, she will sing a lullaby and do some massage. And my kids are even asking now for her. Exactly, they miss her now, and I learned so much from her. But I needed to take that step and go outside and speak and ask and give myself a permission. It's okay if somebody comes to your house and helps you. You don't have to manage all for yourself.
That is awesome, Mom. Awesome, Mom, right there. Because and I think that's part of like that ownership. I love, you're sharing so much of that motherhood journey. And that inner goddess in us. And, whether you're birthing a business or birthing, and the interesting thing is if you were birthing a business and you acted the way some people, kind of tend to think they need to when they're birthing a family, you'd be out of business. Like you would never grow, because you need to learn how to delegate. You also need to start hiring people who are not just like you. They need to complement you. And,
Absolutely.
you need to learn there's management and then there's leadership. and managers micromanage and tell everybody exactly how to do it and what to do, and leaders allow and trust and teach, and then sort of step back and see what that person coming in can do to add to the whole yumminess of everything. And so it's almost like now that we and again, talking of that sort of that split, I spoke a little bit in episode 16 of like that split of when we took away our roles of being so defined, and well, we knew how to do that. We've gone through a period now, a necessary, quote unquote, evil, blessing in disguise, I'm sure we'll find out, of having to learn how to balance that maybe more masculine form of direction and delegation, and things that maybe the nurturers and the gatherers at home creating weren't necessarily using as much, or using it in different ways, delegating only to their very trusted tribe, to their mothers and their sisters, not necessarily to the lady down the street who I don't know. So, again, with this expansion, we have all this technology connecting us, but we're not connected to us, to ourselves. We're connected, so that network you're talking about is super important in the presence of, not necessarily just talking on, Facebook groups, or like literally in the energy of watching the ugly of, because I think that's a big thing about the beauty of family and whatever, because you don't have to work so hard to be so perfect in it. You're just like, you say what you got to say sometimes. And I think those are the healthiest families, where people are able to be themselves and be accepted. And so recreating that, we need to recreate those villages, those, women's circles really is what you're talking about at all the levels we're involved in now. Trusted women's circles.
Absolutely, yeah. And in my case, I needed to learn to differentiate who can I trust or who not. This was a big process too, learning way of getting there. And I just think that if all of us will free ourselves from the fear of making a mistake, from trying new things, and just believe in something bigger, which was actually what helped me to. I was always thinking and believing in a bigger topic. I thank universe, I thank God for people I met, the right people who helped me on my way getting to where I am now. And also, because it was something I learned in the last 2 years, I need to celebrate myself too. Yeah, I worked really hard. I know I'm self-disciplined. I had an A degree in all classes. So it's to sit down and just to relax and enjoy a cup of tea and say I just did enough. And
creating our own boundaries, and then celebration. That celebration of the little wins. It can't always just be the big win, like we said before. It can't just be everything I do is rated upon, will my kid graduate college, because I just see that graduation diploma. It has to be, everybody got in bed tonight, bathed. Like that was a pretty big accomplishment considering everybody's attitude today. And I'm done, because it was a hard day. And when I have a hard day at work, or a big meeting and whatever, it's okay. I came home and I say, you know what? The bath tonight's not going to happen, because that's so much work. And I had to do that at my office today. And it doesn't mean I'm a bad mom, or, this project is going to have to be moved. Especially, that's why I love entrepreneurships for mompreneurs, moms, because it gives you that personal authority you're talking about. It allows you to have, and you get that external validation, maybe getting some money, maybe getting some connections, some network, some posts. Thank you very much for helping me. And it feeds into, I know for me, I tried to do stay at home. Like I thought when I went to North Carolina, that's what I was going to do, because I was so burnt out from a New York lifestyle. And being a physical therapist and a type A personality at that, leader. But I was like, the house is great, decorated, wonderful. I'm doing things. And I was like, I needed to build a company. I was that much better at mothering that way and honoring that. And I think right now we really need to find a pocket with the women who are, 30, late 30s, 40s, definitely. The ones that have some power and have some clout and are the managers and are out there, but are the mothers and this and that, for them to grow. And like we just said, have those circles there that can support them, not just in the work they're doing there with them, in being a woman for those other tangents.
Absolutely. And even exchanging about the kids, because you always think it's just my kid, just my house. No, everybody is having some changes, some challenges. It's just a natural way of growing. If you keep it all for yourself, you get insane. This is what I realize.
Having those conversations in both circles, because I personally, I found it really hard because when I'd be at home some days, I didn't want to just talk about diapers and this and that. I wanted to be like, okay, we talked about that for the first hour. Can we talk about something else besides our kids, like us and our lives and our sex lives and our career ambitions and the fact that we were bored today, and be like, is this it? Like, literally, did I go to 4 years degree to do this every day and not feel bad that we're saying that? And then at the office, be at lunchtime able to talk with our male and female colleagues about parenting and how tough it was to deal with the everyday parenting stuff. So you bring up a really great nugget there on that. So Maria, I want to finish off with, as you see yourself now, your kids are still young, so you're really in the thick of the mothering role, but it sounds like you're starting some entrepreneur things. You're sort of, getting back into your flow of who Maria was before she was Mrs. So-and-so and mommy so-and-so. So that kind of leads to the energy of getting into that wisdom or that time of resurgence, reclaiming, going maybe on that cycle of life where ultimately you'll end up back in your own joy, your own presence, just as a child, hopefully, if you do it right, if you play it right. So what do you think you would say in that matriarch? Maybe what would you say to that person 5 years from now? What kind of conversation would you love to have with her? What do you think you're going to get wisdom from her?
5 years
Maria
ago?
Of the matriarch or maybe 10 years down the road, that has lived that dream life that you're setting yourself up for. What would you love to hear from her?
Try not to get stuck on one special idea. Try to open yourself to have a bigger perspective, a bigger view on the things where, for first, like in my case, I'm a yoga educator now, and if people would tell me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you'll be a yoga teacher, I will never believe it. Yeah. I mean, I love it. For me, it was just such a great science and great tool of combining all these levels and in one unity. But trust in things which in the first case you will think, no, it's not possible. Say yes, it can be possible. If I do the first step, do the work, and trust in yourself.
Nice. Yeah. And you see how we just know we have that matriarch in us, even when we're not quite her yet. We have that inner child does not die because we graduate and get our periods. It's just listening to her, because she's talking to you now from a very much truth. I mean, it's like you know that wisdom if you just tune into it, and you're not even quite there living that role. It's not always in that book or in even that, it's just kind of a universal consciousness. So such a beautiful share. Well, thank you so much, Maria. Is there any last little bits you'd like to tell the goddesses out there in the making? Any other little tidbits you want to leave off with?
No, as I said in the beginning, if somebody wants to come to Germany and study some German with me or do some yoga in between, you're always welcome. You can contact Lisa, or maybe I will leave an email address on my Facebook page. It's actually my forename, my first name, my last name, and Yoga Maria Griemel Yoga. And right now I teach the community college, so it's very community-based oriented classes. I don't do anything online yet, but who knows, maybe in a couple of years.
And what area of Germany, I'm getting so much feedback here, sorry about that. What area of Germany are you in?
It's in the south. It's not far from Munich, and it's not far from Nuremberg. It's in between. It's
Great.
Bavaria, and my town's name is Bamberg.
Bamberg?
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Just like a
And
mountain.
I know I tried to hook you up with my friend Brianne Grogan. She's doing some really great new stuff too. So she's over there in Germany with you and doing some new stuff and on the internet and stuff like that. So you should hook up with her because she's another goddess on there.
Absolutely, yes. I saw her page. She's in the west south, and I'm in the east south. So
so maybe one class or something you guys will hook up. But if you ever do, tell her I say hello in person.
I will.
All right, Maria. Well, this is another ending to a wonderful Owning Her Health episode. Thank you so much for sharing your Mama Guru wisdom and celebrating that emergence into yourself a little bit more. I know that will be a great story, and I will put that address on the bottom if anybody wants to contact you, or maybe they're even listening from Germany and they're around you and they can have a wonderful, wonderful class. Thanks so much, Maria.
Yeah, thank you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening into this episode of Owning Her Health with Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. To learn more about her personal and professional development service, visit her online at drlisahollandpt.com.